Okay, hi there. This is another reply to Pastor Jerry, who's cleared up some of these points that I'd raised with him, some of these questions that I'd thrown at him, and he's done it very promptly. Thank you for that, Jerry. I appreciate that. Let's try and move through these. I actually didn't anticipate making another video on all of this. I thought this would probably kind of peter out, and I watched your video and I thought, well, I wonder if we can get to a stage where I can just respond to you and scale it down with a series of comments, but I don't really feel I can do that. I feel there's still a little bit too much to go at, and I want to try and go at that without expanding it, because there's so many ways that these things can go that this could go on forever, couldn't it? It could just get wider and wider. I don't want that, and I doubt you do too. But let's just try and clear a few things up. The first thing you come to about this coming to Christ thing, and about your role in it and Jesus' role in it, I accept that, right? I accept that your point. Obviously, I don't believe it because I'm an atheist, but I accept your point. Let's clear that up. Let's leave that one. The next thing we moved on was these tribes that have never experienced, they've never heard of Jesus. And what you said is that they can experience God through the things in nature. That should be enough for them to know that God exists, and so that's fine. But this isn't the Christian doctrine, is it? I thought the Christian doctrine is that you have to ask Jesus Christ for salvation, not that you believe in some kind of deity, not that you believe in some forest spirit or the snake god or the bull god or the god of night or whatever, which is what a lot of these people believe in. One, they have to believe in the right God, otherwise they're worshipping false idols, aren't they? And the other thing is that they have to accept Jesus Christ as their saviour. I don't really understand. I can understand how a Christian such as yourself, with a Bible to go by, can pick out the Jesus Christ character and ask him to be your saviour. I can understand that process, but I can't see how somebody in some remote tribe that's never read or even heard of the Bible is going to know about Jesus Christ just from looking at a flower. I don't understand that part of it, so I'd like you to explain that bit of it to me, because I'm sure you can see just from what I've said with the kind of confusion that's brought in. The next thing is this thing, and you kind of twisted round what I said about the next thing. I said, wouldn't it have been better if God just hadn't bothered making us in the first place? And you've twisted that round a little bit to say, is God fair or not? And what you said is, God is sovereign over us. He decides whether to make us or not. And if God had decided not to make me, then I would never have been born. Fine, I accept that for the sake of this argument. I accept that, but that's not really what I asked. And I never even asked whether it's fair that we all go to hell. What I said was, given that most of us are going to have gone to hell, how can that be moral on God's part to make any of us? It would be surely so much of a better outcome, the best outcome that God could have achieved, given how shit we are, basically, how crap we are, how sinful we are. Wouldn't it have been better for him to just say, right, okay, I can see where this is going to go, let's just not bother creating humans, because all I'm going to do is cause suffering. I mean, like, I've got a cat. I've got a cat downstairs, and I've had the cat spayed, so she can't have kids. But imagine I bred her, and I had 5 kittens, and I said, right, this is what I'm going. I've got these 5 kittens, and I encouraged the kittens by scratching at the curtains. I encourage them scratching at the curtains because cats have a scratchy, curtainy kind of nature, don't they? And 4 of the kittens start climbing up the curtains, and the other one doesn't, right? Because it's a lazy cat, perhaps. So the lazy cat, I give it a really good life, and the other 4 ones who live by their curtain climbing nature, what I'm going to do is I actually get a board and I strap them down to this board with their legs extended. And what I'm going to do is with these kittens is that I'm going to torture them. Not torture them so that they die, because I don't want them to die. I'm going to keep feeding these kittens, and I might be able to keep them alive for a decade or so, just to keep them alive as long as I can, so that I can torture these kittens that become cats as much as I can. Pack as much torturing into their life as I can. Okay? Now, I don't know how you would feel about me doing that with these 5 cats. You'd probably say, well, Jim, if that's what it's all about, wouldn't it just be better? You know, I accept, Jim, that you don't want the cats scratching your curtains, and the cats have sinned against your rule of not scratching your curtains. I accept that, Jim, but wouldn't it have been better, if that's how it's going to be, for you just not to have the cats in the first place? Just don't bother having kittens, because obviously you don't really like the baggage that the kittens are going to bring with them. So this is what I'm suggesting. Wouldn't it have been better for God just not to have bothered with humans? Because he clearly doesn't really like most of us. He just regards us as sinful. You know, he has set these rules that he knows we're going to break 9 times out of 10. And you're telling me his hands are tied. Although he's omnipotent, he can't just decide to wipe us out, to wipe us from existence. No, he has to actually set about making sure we are tortured for what we've done. Okay? If it was just, right, Pastor Jerry, you've been brilliant. I really think you're you're fantastic. You're going to go in my heaven. Jim, No Plum 99. Not so keen on what you did down there. I think you kind of got the wrong balance there, son. So I'm just going to wipe you from existence. You'll be about where you were before you were born, right? I could kind of accept that, but he's not going to say that. What he's going to say to me is, you've not really kind of. I know you thought you were acting in the best way you could, but you've cocked it up. So I'm gonna yeah, you're gonna have to be tortured for all of eternity. I'm afraid it doesn't. The balance, the amount of suffering for the amount of good just doesn't seem right, does it? But look, we can go down. I don't even know if I want you to answer that, because we can go down that road forever. What I want you to answer is a couple of questions that brings up. The first is, you talked about heaven and how you imagine heaven to be. If you get into heaven, Pastor Jerry, and you find it isn't how you think, that it's actually more how I said it could be, you know, that when you get in there you find that God's idea of heaven is somewhat different, will you feel slightly aggrieved by that and put out by that? Or will you just shrug your shoulders and say, well, if God deems that this is how heaven should be, with me being prodded and tortured for eternity, well, God knows best, I'll just happily have to accept it. How would you feel about it if you got in there? Would you accept that as, well, God knows best, whatever he does is right? Or would you feel a little bit aggrieved about it? The second thing is, you know, it seems to me you talk about God being fair, but it seems that anything that's levelled at God, you just say, well, that's fair because that's what he's decided, or because he's done it. So it's almost like a kind of tautology, isn't it? That whatever God does is fair, so that you can say that, yes, that's fair. Well, God's done it, of course it's fair. So could you think of anything that God could do? I'd like you to give me an example of something that God could do, that you would then say, right, now that's an example of something that isn't fair. You know, if God said to you, right, Pastor Jerry, I'm going to give you 24 hours. If in 24 hours you're not 200 feet tall, I'm going to torture you. Right? Would that be unfair? Or would that still be fair because God said it? Because God said it and deemed it, then that would be fair, even though you had no hope of attaining that. You know, because I don't see there's any hope of all humanity attaining the kind of perfection that's necessary to get into your heaven. I don't think he's made it possible for human beings to do that. In just the same way as it wouldn't be possible for you to attain a height of 200 feet tall in 24 hours. They're both as absolutely impossible as one another. So I just wondered, could you give an example of something God could do that wouldn't be fair? And then hopefully, maybe at some stage you'll manage to tie this conversation up, though it's probably doesn't seem to be heading that way at the moment, does it? Thank you for your time, Pastor Jerry. Thank you for your reply. It's been a very enlightening and interesting conversation so far. Thank you.